We live in a universe where anything is possible. Our very existence of consciousness, protons, photons, electrons, true partials, quarks, atoms, self-managing matter and antimatter, all set in motion with the force of energy. The energy gives force, force creating motion, motion unconsciously giving birth to gravity, expanding without hesitation. As a mathematician, Professor writes out an explanation of the universe. A primitive but yet beautiful explanation. His explanation was met with more unanswered questions. As he dives deeper into the chaos that created the universe of his existence, he comes to a realization. The chaos is a maturation, an existence that is the force of every direction and no predictability. Its existence is a part of creation just as everything else should be. Through experimentation, he concludes what works and cancels the other out. So one professor can't help to include in his conclusion that as big as the universe is, so is the space between all that exist inside the thinking brain of the human that could think up such unexpanded land beyond one seen with the eyes, beyond one's scope, to imagine lands large and vast. Knowing in your heart these lands to be true place, a place that exists within the brain has matter and truth out there in the vastness of space. If a man can think of creation, new thoughts coming from nothing, just as a proton pops in and out of existence, so do thoughts in one's mind. The thought comes and goes. Just as photons meet, something comes from nothing into existence, ether fading into nothing or being cancelled out in between the universes of imagination that spontaneous create everything we know, creating existence as fragile as a soap bubble in the wind. This universe could just be a thought, passing in and out of existence, the universe our only reference to the comfort of our own existence. Thoughts will thrive if given the energy like photons with the introduction of new energy. The experimentation of existence evolves and changes in chaotic beauty. Thought become actions as do quarks become quarks and evolve into protons, protons giving birth to matter. A matter that hold everything together, the matter pushing to evolve, pushing to becoming the next stage of its own evolution, curious of its next existence, matter finding antimatter. Just like the professor's thoughts, the thoughts become actions, giving motion, motion creating energy to a universe in a consistent dance of experimentation, where one equation cancels out another question to the beautiful explanation of the creation of all that is known, a beautiful chaos, deep thoughts within the professor's head, unseen thoughts deep within the brain, unknown if never spoken or explained, a mathematical explanation from a professor in a faraway world. Chapter 7. At first, Drayco had to learn how to walk with new legs, to talk with a tongue, to swim with new limbs, learning to balance survival on the edge of life, reaching for the forbidden fruit, testing the boundaries of life. Once he had enough strength and power of will, he traveled to consolidate with the Dragonites. Drayco was seeking counsel to console his mistake for making such trades. He must apologize, seek wisdom from the wise enchanted beast, his once mystic friends, the Dragonites. After lands traveled, jungles conquered, rivers crossed, dangers missed, and death survived, finally Drayco arrived at the Great Dragon Den. A wall of citified crystallized forest, plants draping between the sheet of calcified crystallized forest plants, protecting the den. These walls were not alone, for even the mountain held secrets of defense like a fine-covered castle, a city made of crystal and light, a marvelous sight of natural design. On arrival, Drayco realized he was yet just a speck compared to the vast size and glory of such a structure. His long-forgotten memories gave a feeling he once passed through such a structure with ease, a feeling of being lighter in the breeze. Drayco took another 4 seasons to find his way through the enormous structure walls. Even then, he had come to the notion that he still had some distance before reaching the center where the Dragonites dwell. Traveling the crystal-walled dwellings with hopes and passions that the Dragonites may undo this evil spell and erase the trade made for such a fragile being, for he now recognizes the trade to be a deception for Drayco to lose all that made him powerful, all that made him a Dragonite. "I am a Dragonite," Drayco cries out into the dim sunlit dwelling. The cries echo against the walls much like a large valley would, just one grandeur of this interior of the Dragonite's dwelling. Sunlight beams guide his way, however. His prayers are but echoes against the crystal halls. Finally, after an unretainable time had been spent, after all the moons that have come to pass, struggles present and past all forgotten, as the distance has been traveled, Drayco, restless with anticipation, seeing the shapes of the Dragonites in the distance, gives the last push of motivation. He draws closer with excitement in his step, just one hill mound left. As Drayco climbed the last barrier of dirt and rock, he gazed upon in shock as it seemed the Dragonites had been turned to stone, still as the mountains and walls that surround them. However, this was not the case. The Dragonites moved at a different pace, moving beyond the seeable space. Neither fast nor slow, but with every movement a gang's tree had time to grow. Time was of no essence to something so large and abundant. So Drayco cries out loud to the stone colossus. "Here, I'm here, down here, I'm here," Drayco cries out, jumping and waving his arms about to get attention. However, he is never attended. His voice crying for help goes unheard. Like an ant to a molecule, a fish to a particle, Drayco had no voice to something so immense, outliving and immortal. So he sat at the feet of the monstrous gathering of beasts for many uncounted moons, and what seemed thousands of days. He waited for an answer, a sign, a reflection of a thought, anything to feed this curious, desperate mind at the end of his quest. Below, in the glistening sun rays that filter through the roof of the vast structure, Drayco lays losing faith in belief that things could change. So many moons of days passed. A golden beard grows long from his emotionless face. Just as the statues of his former friends, he too lies in wait for his eternal end, withering away into the grass, at one with nature, at home at last. Silence feeds an inner voice. Louder and louder it gets, its intensity building up, until finally turning into a resonating hum. His body faded into the dirt where he lays. All seems to fade away in a dreamlike state, swallowed by an emanating musical hum. Now engulfed by earthly being, taken to physical realms that seem like dreams, with no eyes to open, Drayco can now see the beauty of all that surrounds him. Drayco, looking high into the sky, the roof of the Crystal Colosseum had all but faded away to see the vast stars in the distance. 4 stars begin to fall like embers of fire, emanating bright, pure light. As they fall closer, the lights become an intense heat, so hot the eyes would melt if you dare to continue to stare at the falling star. Drayco, covering his eyes in this dreamlike state, uncovering his eyes to a world of beauty. Like whispers in the wind, voices inaudible, distilled, diluted, Drayco strains to listen, straining to make sense. Is he living or dead? Are these voices of the past or are they of the present? Are they real or just in my head? He asked out loud to himself, still in disbelief of his location. The voices wrap around Drayco like an excited breeze, happy and pleased to meet. Invisible winds that dance with the leaves and moss, dirt and sands. A seeable personality, greeting Drayco as a spirit guide. The invisible mist, breeze, wind and air leading Drayco to a place where he could gather the answers he required. It's then he is led by the mystic wind, trusted unquestioned. He is taken to what is known as the Jellybean Pool, its home surrounded by glowing, luminous blue gum trees hidden between the mounds of grassy wheats. A white feminine face pierces the veil, the face of the consciousness itself, watching from a distance. She is just a simple spectator, hidden in the clouds, eyes within a mist that gracefully emanates from familiar things. This instance seen through the winding woods of a miniaturized forest, harboring a mysterious village in the middle of this fort center, a variety of growing with miniature life in all its forms. Am I large, or is everything just really small? Drayco questioned, trying to comprehend the complexity of what he was seeing. Drayco is filled with joy, love, calmness and harmony. Without hesitation, he steps forth into the pond of pure waters. Light seems to be pulsating through the tree leaves. Small crawling entities watch from the tea tree gums, hidden among the sugar-sweet plums, creatures watching on, even the Demi tea trees watching Drayco enter the still waters of the pond, all watching in silence, as he is led by a pure spiritual entity, led through the mini Demi trees, a bonsai forest that holds bonsai beings, and living life surrounds the pond. Drayco was careful not to tread or destroy any of that which was familiar, just so much smaller. All types and varieties of given nature in miniature welcomed the entity leading Drayco. It was here Drayco was led to, standing in the center of a small pond, sat down by the invisible friend, going further down and becoming immersed in the moisture of the water. A reflection on the water top shows all that exists. The waters take motion and begin to swirl around Drayco in the pond. Shades of light and dark rough ripples begin to make the water unsettled. Small waves ripple around the pond. The waves reveal all stars burning bright, all creatures of past and present, the illuminating waters that filled all entities. Some of those entities break from the waves and swim towards Drayco. Suddenly all commotion ceased at once. Drayco's enlightenment had begun. Drayco sinking under the waters, a guidance safety felt in a net warmth inclusion, only discriminated by negative will, for thoughts harm none until given the will. The energies in the water surrounding Drayco caught his thoughts like falling apples. The energy sees his motivations, an interrogation in a non-invasive way, ensuring all duties that he will keep are cared for nature's way, to obey the balance of life fulfilled, to see if this humanoid male can become a king, protecting all realms within the planet field. The energy of the water sees the battle within himself, the barriers of success, the looming dread of self-worth. The energy of the waters whispers in a soft, loving voice. You, Drayco, are clouded with self-misery, personal dread, deeds haunting your bones that you had been given from a trade with deception at its core. The trade was no reward now as you see it. However, you failed to see the spawns of life you have created, the loving bonds that withstand time. For every trade-off was true. You hinder your own life to obscure that what you seek to find, and now is that time. Render your eyes forever closed, unable to see the physical, you are not blind. Render your breath useless under these waters. Render that fast-beating heart to a rhythmic chant of your own desire. Boom, boom, thud, thud, boom, thud, thud, boom, thud, thud. Boom, thud, thud, boom. Drayco, what is the echo of that beating drum? The energy questions Drayco. What can you imagine as the sound takes shape? What is your desire? Boom, 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 boom. In the stillness of a darkened pool, Drayco is drawn to a connection. Drayco has passed the internal interrogation of temptation. Drayco was gifted with the title of king. After such trembling turmoil was a fair price to pay to pass, when all answers lay in wait. Not all answers come easy and must be hidden from all eyes in all the worlds. Boom, thud, thud, boom. Boom, thud, thud, boom, thud, thud, boom, thud, thud. Drayco finds a rhythmic beat within his heart. Music, love, laughter, vibrating from his very core. Drayco fulfilled with a need to join all that is belonging, syntonizing with all that was and is. Exposure, the truth, no values, no lies, no hidden meaning, void of any misguided agenda or pointless obstacle to overcome, no injustice just for the amusement. The pond's waters are alive, mystical magic filled with possibilities. Hope is just one outcome, and despair is another, for the seeker is the revealer. Ideologies turned once they emerged are a blessing or a danger, a warning to the individual seeking answers from any form of magical powers, for the journey that is about to commence. For you, Drayco, all that is was and all that is meant to be, a mixed storm of emotional turbulence, an underwater rampage, currents undescribed. Drayco down to bear under the water's will, the surrounding bonsai trees, bonsai wallows, and mini-lives living around the pond's meadow watching on. The water falls upward as Drayco fades down unto the passing current. He thinks of all he had seen just before he was taken to the underwater dream, seeing mini humanoids working, farming, living in the forest, the life that surrounds all things. Taken deeper, under the weight of the comforting wet environment. Stay awake, for can you fall asleep within a dream? Deeper than any shallows, deeper than ever explored, breathing has no hold for air is not needed. Drayco comes to an understanding of the moist fluid that engulfs his being, shadows lifting the current around Drayco, leading him further down uncharted hollows, for answers are notoriously hard to find. The guidance of such forces, a path to lead with an invisible tether, a thread for forced directions to this guided exploration. For deep within the depths, dangers lurk, just as they do in all realities. The pond, deep with its rocky walls, a well of variables, a home to a vortex for bad things to go. The dangers are real and must not be ignored as these caverns are unmapped, uncharted, laced in dreams and lost thoughts. Cautions are to be taken as the depths are further explored. In a cave below a rocky ledge, reflections and flickers of light uncover a cavern of crystal towers from floor to ceiling. There were unbroken columns of purple dilithium crystals, recognized by Drayco as he had seen only just a small portion before, used for reflective practice. Some could see past to present, and the jagged alternatives to the possible futures. Drayco in shock, in despair when shown the great deception of addiction, his plan to grow and overthrow all that is living, enslaving the unwilling, eating the innocence of the life force unprotected, and victim without defense. Horror flowed through his existence, seeing the patience of addiction's goal domination from devastation. However, when he began to look close, a hero was emerging from the forges of the burning fires. The scream is silenced when the one fights for freedom against all odds, one leads the others on. Drayco came to learn this was his son, his daughters fighting by his side, sisters and brothers leading life from the ashes, a price born from a love yet met. For this is an image of one outcome, one other possibility. Life must survive, and your future could be all that is needed. A life lived, love given, experiences shared, all leading to an inevitable outcome. What would it be if it was not lived? What would come if nothing was done? A vision of an exploding planet comes to the crystal face. All lands, rivers, lakes, all inheritance evaporated in a moment of mayhem. With the truth comes a choice: to lay in the grass with open eyes to the universe and await the final end or fight. Find my other half, my lover, my friend, to seek life despite its terrors and shades of darkness. The glimmer of hope and willingness to listen to the wise will lead away from demise and assist you on your travels to arise anew. Arise non-ashamed of a past revealed. Rise from the depths of this cavern of crystals. Let me arise to fly into the direction of survival. I will arise to be the master of no man but myself, slave to no other's will but that of my lover. Arise from this garden's den, a wind waves goodbye with an invisible grin, for the answers have been revealed. Once awoken, only remembered as an emotion, no memories of what's to come or the greater past, just the emotional voyage that allowed today to happen, and with tomorrow a given. Gift would be the description of the emotion that comes and goes like a wind or a breeze, a familiar attachment to a profound moment you just can't quite remember. So coming to terms with his humanoid self, Drayco, who once felt he never fitted in the skin he was in, has now come to comfort the skeletal frame that holds the flesh together. Drayco returned to the lands of the living, somewhere to call a homestead. From over a hill to lands revealed as beauty, his silhouette covers the lands like the king that he now is. All is under his protection. So from this day, a changed, humble man, a claim intelligent, intellectual man, thoughtful towards the future, peace had begun to fulfill the once lost soul with warmth of joy. Drayco kept his golden beard that had grown long during his journeys. Now a man ready to be a lover, to find another and make more like himself to be called family, an ever-remaining gratitude to live in such a realm. Down in the valley below where the divine river flows walks the entity, Fee, a lady of emanating green energy. Fee is the attendee to the garden's growth, her deed to care for life and all that is given by the divine, sustenance given must be sustained. Just as day turned to night and night began a new day, the coming together of two beings born of the universe brought harmony, such as death brings life, assured by the unbreakable bond held between the souls of Fee and Drayco, such as photons collide and microbes find life, the inevitability of their love expected. For when they came together, new life forms, a physical expression of the love, shared in a moment of lustiest passion, a love that has no exchange of words, rather by expression, a sense of belonging, a comfort beyond the bodily realms that hold us captive. Any vibration into these emotions intensified and coagulated this action of love, crystallized in a formation of physical mass. Within Fee, a beating heart just begun to beat, evidence of love, the beginning of a bloodline to lead to survival. Drayco is the king of all that exists, a father to those without one, a leader of freedom of past, present, future, always our king, always our father. Fee, mother of all wisdom, caring, loving, forgiving, home to many and home to any, for if it harms none, do what you will. One shared experience where two become one, one creating another. The son of Drayco, one light in a darkened world. Two unlikely friends, a pair of Orc-Rickeye-born lads, Podge and Pickle, a very ugly pair of hairy, dull, half-witted, tusk-faced pair of sister-tits that managed to get me locked up in this place, the best of friends you surely are, said with sarcasm from the prince's angry mouth as he lay drunk in the holding cell of the local bounty cavern. His two unlikely friends stood out of sight, while the prince complained about being stuck, cursing in a haze of intoxication. The prince mutters, "You born pig mutts, I should have never picked you up." The prince is still upset. "Yep. And he's still drunk," the friends agree. The born man pigs dressed in full armor attire, they argue among themselves. They agree through banter. It's best if we leave him a little bit longer to get back to sober, for after the announcing his love for the tavern's barmaids, whom is 7 times his age, 7 times his weight, 7 times his beauty, 7 times he's been kicked out. Apologies. Agreed, apologize. A little bit longer to get to sober. Yeah, Then a bath of powdered moths. Yeah. Then we can eat the moths after. Agreed. A deep, raspy voice heckling with laughter. The voice cackles from the rock-walled cell across the cold hallway, adjacent from the prince. The voice comes through.